Hello my friends, my relatives, esteemed colleagues. I'm frequently being bombarded with questions about the blood pressure. Is it dangerous? What does it do? Why it happens? What is causing it? Okay, so I will try to make some sense out of this. I mentioned it in many videos, but I guess repetition is necessary. Blood pressure is created by presence of blood in our circulation system. You have a hose, you put water in it, the hose becomes rigid. More water you pump in, the harder the hose becomes. Pressure increases. Now, our robot, our body is meant to have certain pressure, and it has sensors, switches that control this. To have proper pressure, it should have also proper quantity of blood, and blood consists of plasma, which is water with minerals, and then platelets and all kinds of forms which on a cellular level that have their purpose, including some enzymes, including some hormones which it's using to regulate certain things. And everything what is in the blood is polarized. Everything that exists is polarized. By polarization, it means we are living in energy. This is all energy, conscious energy, with different vibration. The vibration creates two distinctive fields. Vibration, it causes expansion, and it causes two forces: magnetic, which is the expanding, and gravitational, which is trying to keep it together. So, what connects them is electric flow, part of the light and expansion forces. Again, I explained this through quantum mechanics, when I explained the structure, that everything depends, all the characteristics of everything depends on structure, not atomic structure, simple structure, energetic electromagnetic structure, which it's created by waves, because particles in quantum do not exist. So let's keep it shorter. So when we are talking about our body, it has conduits, blood vessels, and in different size, and it creates plasma with blood elements that body needs, which flow through this. Because of polarization, the body creates very conductive ambient, serves as a superconductor. To do this, the ionic value of blood has to be strictly controlled. We as scientists, we have no clue. It's all done on a cellular level. It's through evolution, it's through genetic system. Everything is controlled. And now, how come that some people have higher blood pressure, some lower? Well, number one, we are all toxic. We all eat wrong food. By design. Not by divine design, but by our misled design. And because of this, parameters are changing. Because we are being told to keep away from salt, we are demineralizing ourselves. And less minerals you have, the less water you can have in your body, which then prevents body from cleansing, because it needs water to cleanse. So it becomes more toxic. And it leads into visual symptoms of toxicity, which we call diseases. Now, since our parameters are being made on statistics of toxic people, glucoholics, we cannot trust them. But let's say that normal blood pressure is between 60 and 120 millimeters of pressure. So now, some people have much lower pressure. My wife, her normal is between 50 and 90. And very often she is below 90, 80, even 75. And she works okay, she doesn't feel any problems. So blood pressure doesn't really matter. I know people, my grandfather was one of them, whose pressure daily was between 112, 110, 100, 280, 200, 220. And he lived to be 85, 86 years old, with high blood pressure. Of course, he was on medication, but even that didn't work after a while, so the pressure was always high. But what medication did, it killed him. It actually caused such an osteoporosis that in his final days, if he stood up, his bones were breaking, and he collapsed. What led to it? Toxicity. Medicaments are the most toxic. But we as doctors, we are schooled only on medicaments. We don't know nothing because we don't understand the body, so we don't know how to heal. We just know how to medicate. Now, what happens? Doesn't matter what is your standard pressure, but let's say majority people have it there between 70, 80, and 120. So now you go to doctor is measuring your blood pressure, and you just have heard somebody having stroke and being caused by high blood pressure, and he had these and these symptoms before, and you had these and these symptoms, so now this is in your head. Maybe I will have also this stroke. So you go to doctor, your heart is bumping, instead of beating 60 times a minute, it's beating 80 or 90. Pressure is being checked, and your pressure is 135. Wow, doctor immediately goes, wow, you are hypertensive, here, medication. Well, you are hypertensive in this moment because your heart is running faster, so it increases the blood pressure. It's like when wind is showing up and you have high tide coming, and more waves are coming, and actually tide becomes higher. More water accumulates. A faster heartbeat increases blood pressure. But doctors are not smart people. Trust me, they are not smart. I'm one of them. But at least I was smart enough to start observing and realizing that everything I was told in school was wrong. We are taught stupidities. Because it is enough for you, even if you are not under pressure. Somebody is checking your blood pressure, and now you ask question. Oh, doc, so what do you think? Immediately when you open your mouth, blood pressure goes up. Because heart is your engine. And every time you want to do something, blink your eyes, open your mouth, raise your hand. You first have to increase the heartbeat before you can do this. It's like engine. Before you release the clutch, you have to add a little bit power. You have to speed up the engine, otherwise engine dies. So body is electronic robot, works the same way. So don't trust when doctor tells you that you have high blood pressure. Tensiometers are cheap. Get one, go home and you check your blood pressure when you are relaxed. And keep your arm that you're measuring blood pressure, keep it and elevate it in the same level of your heart so there is no increased back pressure. And check your blood pressure twice a day, but always in the same time when you are relaxed. And do it daily, and you will see what's happening with your blood pressure. This way you know. Any kind of excitement will raise your blood pressure. But now, and doctors always give you diuretic or beta blockers to relax your blood vessels, so this way volume of blood vessel becomes higher, and this means that the liquid your blood gets more distributed, and of course it's less of it, like you are putting the water, same amount of water in with bigger hose, wider hose. Of course there's less water overall and pressure is lower. By urinating using diuretic, you are reducing the level of your blood. You are pissing your blood out, the plasma out, water, and losing minerals. Body tries to hold minerals, but it cannot hold 100%. But because body tries to hold minerals in, now we are being schooled in a school that kidneys have a problem releasing minerals. And this is why we should not eat salt, because it will accumulate in our body and create then hypertension and water retention and destroy kidneys. All is pure nonsense. And if you want to know it's nonsense, don't trust anybody. Go to the bathroom, urinate, put your finger, try, and you will see that urine is more bitter than salty. Then put some salt in water, mix it, drink it, and when you go urinate, try. You will see it's saltier. Better yet, go and swim in the ocean. Because through your skin you will absorb seawater, water with salt, with minerals. And then when you urinate, try, and its urine is as salty as sea. Of course, kidney has absolutely no problem eliminating surplus salt. It just does not want to eliminate it when it does not have it, when it's trying to guard it. But we doctors, we are so smart, we know it all because we read, they told us, that we don't even check it out for ourselves. We blindly trust, follow the science. Whose science? Cabal science that comes from Rockefeller Foundation. Okay, so because we are becoming dehydrated, our cells, our blood cannot cleanse properly, our urine is getting darker. Dark urine, you are low on plasma, low on blood. Smellier urine, same thing. Now if we are in that stage, blood gets toxic and it will not hydrate cells. On top of it, we are being told that coffee is good. 1 coffee a day, 2 coffees a day, it's good for your heart. Nonsense. It's pure poison. Caffeine is poison. It closes all your cells, prevents them from hydration. They dehydrate. They will not take any sip of this blood until it is cleansed from the caffeine. Same is with medicinal remedies of any kind. Garlic is medicinal remedy. Highly neurotoxic. You have it in a food, in a traces. It stops cellular hydration. dries you up on a cellular level. Then your cells cannot cleanse. They become acidic, which then creates necessity sometimes of forced hydration. Forced hydration is when body decides that it needs to push some water in a cell so they can cleanse a little bit. And we call it inflammation. Now we are being schooled, oh, this is antigen and gen problem, war, killing microbes. Bull, none of it. And when we have a dehydrated cells, especially on the skin or over mucosal tissue, and then not enough protection of cholesterol, what happens? Some irritant comes, which usually is foreign protein, and it sticks to the cell of mucosal tissue. Now, the cell does not have water to squirt to wash off, and it starts immediately forced hydration to absorb some water so it can flush off the allergen. Well, the forced hydration is your inflammation. So what is the typical sign of allergy? Inflammation. You get it? Doctors, please. Do you get it? Very simple. Hydrate the body. On a cellular level, all allergies disappear. But because we got low on plasma, now blood still has the same amount of red blood cells and white blood cells, so it becomes denser. What do we see in toxic people, elderly people? Dense blood. Well, this is why. Such a blood is not so well conductive, electroconductive. So we have a problem here. Electromagnetic field between particles diminishes, so they start touching each other. They don't repel anymore. So such a blood becomes more viscous, and it needs more pressure to pump it through. Increases blood pressure, but we don't know it. Why? Because our blood vessels, our body is half empty. It does not have enough plasma. That's why we are in this situation. Instead of loading with plasma, we give something to dilute the blood. We give anticoagulants. So then the damaged cells do not coagulate. And this then prevents bleeding if blood vessel ruptures. And such toxic blood prevents hydration on a cellular level. So cells dry up like a prune. They become brittle. Blood vessels are made of cells. Arteries have to withstand high pressure, especially those close to the heart. Closer to the heart, higher pressure. And when they become brittle, they lose flexibility, they are brittle, and high blood pressure, and they start cracking. And as they develop little cracks, crack splits. So negative on the outside of the cell, now outside of the blood vessel is negative, positive is inside. When it cracks, the negative becomes accessible. Positively charged particles of the blood magnetically claps to it. Some of them is cholesterol, but not all of it. Every freaking cell becomes trapped in this. And we get obstruction forming in the blood vessels. And now we say, oh, it's cholesterol, and it's typical HDL cholesterol, and now we... all nonsense, pure baloney. Cholesterol never does it. And if this would not be closed, then the rupture will increase and you start bleeding and you get tamponade of the heart. You can bleed internally. And this often happens. Then we are giving anticoagulants. So small capillaries, when they break down, or small blood vessels, blood doesn't coagulate. Electromagnetic fields are weak. So when the positive particles come into negative field, it's all weak, so it doesn't immediately bond magnetically, so it keeps seeping in, and we bleed into the brain and we get stroke. From anticoagulants called blood dilutants. All nonsense. We are creating problem with the medication we are giving because we are trained to do this and we are not capable of thinking. We just follow the leader. Bah. Take your licenses and just rip them apart. They are too hard to use as a toilet paper, so just dump them because they are not worth it. And if they don't let you practice without it, well, don't practice. Learn and heal. Practice enough. Enough people suffer from this practice. So, this is what is beginning of creating high blood pressure. Because when your blood is low on plasma, becomes denser, it needs more pressure to push it through. But blood pressure doesn't jump so much because there is not enough blood in the blood vessels. Now you drink pure water and blood pressure goes high wire. Why? Because now you fill the hose a little bit more, and since heart is used to pump harder and there is more friction because there is not electromagnetic conductivity there, it's harder to push the blood through. Pressure goes up. But this doesn't present any problem except that when you have very brittle blood vessels. Otherwise it doesn't present any problem. The anticoagulant to dilute your blood presents 10 times more problems. But doctors happily prescribe it. But they very carefully warn you, no salt. Wow, your blood pressure is 1/30 of, no, 0 salt. Well, your kidney cannot work. Your kidney doesn't work because there is no plasma. It is saving liquid. It cannot work. It's not allowed to work because it wastes too much water. This is why your mucosal tissue goes in action and you get nausea and diarrhea. And then we are told, no, that's disease. So you again poison body to stop this. So it continues to accumulate toxicity until it starts coming out of your skin. And you get urticaria, you get pimples, you get seborrhea, and all kinds of stuff. And then you get antihistaminics on the creams and steroids to put up just to prevent the inflammation that is part of the cleansing, part of your healing. Keep away from doctors. This is the best I can tell you. Because until they change, they are poisoning you. They are the problem. They are not the solution. If you want to know if salt increases blood pressure, so go drink salt water and check your blood pressure. Drink seawater. Swim in the sea. How many of you are swimming in the sea and come out with a high blood pressure and pain? Nobody. It's contrary. Your body starts cleansing because it increases the level of conductivity and starts eliminating wrong frequencies. And it's not only the proteins and sugars and all the garbage that we are producing, but also emotions. It's all frequency. And you cleanse everything. Your mind becomes clear. This is why the Self-Healers Protocol is so effective. Because it hydrates you and you immediately go into detox. And all the symptoms of flu show up. No virus. Virus does not exist. You go into detox and you have all the symptoms of flu. But very quickly, after a few days, you feel better. No blood pressure increase. But sometimes, if you are already very, not only toxic, but you have cellular damages, you have cellular dehydration, your arteries are rigid, of course it will increase pressure at the beginning until even first blood has to cleanse. So when you start with increasing the plasma, and even if your blood pressure increases, it's okay, unless you have big headaches. Because if you already have inflamed meningus around your brain, the membrane that creates headaches, and your blood pressure slightly increases the pressure which already has been increased by inflammation and gives you headache. Migraines, where they come from? From inflammation of meninge, because meningus is dehydrated and acidic. So when you start hydrating at the beginning, everything hurts, but then quickly you start cleansing and the inflammation goes down, because now you are hydrating the correct way. The forced hydration is not necessary, and no pain. Migraines go away. High blood pressure doesn't cause migraine headache and doesn't cause headache in general, although it can appear with high blood pressure. I have a lot of clients I know, a lot of people I know whose blood pressure increases to 180, 200 and no headache. And I know average Joe Schmo who is on medication, and it's okay when the blood pressure is 120, goes to 140 and huge headache. Why? Because they are not cleansing. Their meningus is inflamed, and every slight increase of pressure will then be enough to achieve the pressure necessary on the sensory nerve to present itself in a form of headache. We are just being told stupid things and we believe them, and we have no clue what we are doing. We are following the leader, and the leader is taking us to slaughterhouse. So we have to just learn the truth. I know a lot of people were laughing years ago when I started talking about this, and I'm opening my eyes as time goes. I'm learning every day something new. So I have here now already 18 years or more of experience dealing with this. Okay, and I don't need any license. Yeah, I'm a veterinarian and I will help you, guide you how to treat your animal, but first I will help you to heal yourself. And it goes on a cellular level. So blood pressure will not harm you. But if you have already very brittle cells, arteries, because more dehydrated they are, more brittle they are. Muscles start breaking. You get a hernia. You cannot even stitch it because muscle breaks. Tendons are breaking. Muscles are breaking. Orifices don't close, so you have refluxes. You have incontinence. This is all cellular dehydration problem in variety of tissues. And of course now when blood pressure increases, there is more chance that it will break. But then it breaks much easier when you hit yourself, because this is instant increase of pressure. And what you have, these people who are highly toxic, but they are on medication and they are medicated with aspirin or any other kind of blood dilutant, anticoagulant, they hit themselves a little bit, breaks arteries, and all of a sudden the whole area becomes blue and green and yellow, because blood doesn't stop leaking, it just keeps leaking and leaking. So you make a wrong step and you shake a little bit your brain and you have infarct. Or you do this and you break little artery in your heart and ping out. This is going to damage it much faster and clearer than increase of a blood pressure, because it's a dampened wave. But we are trained as a professionals to scare shit out of our patients, clients, just to make them buy the toxic medications. So pharmaceuticals can make money and we get benefits. And money, of course. We have to know the truth. Don't be afraid of high blood pressure. Yes, if you are in a very serious situation, it may break, you may die, but if you are in that situation, it will happen even if you have controlled blood pressure, because you are made urinate all this water, you are dry as a prune, your blood vessels are extending, your heart speed is being artificially slowed down because the heart wants to increase frequency of pumping just to supply enough oxygen and take out carbon dioxide. And now you are preventing this by slowing it down just to keep the blood pressure down. Who cares for freaking blood pressure? Because in this situation, your blood vessels are going to deteriorate much faster, and then any little touch and it will burst them. So, if you are already in very bad shape and you are there because of your so-called doctor, because body would never allow it on its own, because it will give you signs, it will give you symptoms, and you will look which way to correct them, and you will go into healing. Medication is only there to suppress the symptom, to cut down the pain, bring down the inflammation, so you feel good, and you are not doing anything about actually changing your habits which are causing these problems. So you get more and more polluted, and you get in this situation of fragility, when you then can die from anything. Somebody scares you, just the movement of throat, it can break your blood vessel. So if you are in that shape, well, you take your chance. Either you go and try to heal and allow your pressure to go 110, 115 over 220. My grandfather lived for years with this pressure, and eventually died from breaking bones, from osteoporosis. The only thing that will happen with increased blood pressure for a long time, your heart will enlarge. But this happens to everybody who does energy demanding sports. Heart has to pump faster, stronger, and it's a muscle. You lift weights, your muscle gets big. You pump hard muscle, it gets big. But when the circulation repairs itself, cells hydrate, detoxify, and they start getting flexible again and work as a shock absorber. So when your heart pumps, blood vessel expands, and it's like amortizing the expansion, doesn't show this blood pressure increase. And it's naturally started dropping rapidly, blood pressure down to about 130, 120, over 80, 75, naturally. You cannot heal with medication. You can only heal by changing your habits, by knowing what you can eat, what you cannot eat, what is your food, what is not your food, and by providing minerals and water, plasma, seawater, diluted seawater, so the body can have proper levels of plasma and use it for cleansing, and don't have to save on water. And the first symptoms of blood cleansing, usually when it's higher toxicity, is you are cleansing through mucosal tissue, especially if you have their problems because of wrong air. There'll be lungs, so you produce a lot of phlegm. You are cleansing blood and the cells. From wrong food, you always have digestive problems. Now in cleansing, it will be cleansing the blood and the toxic cells. So what happens? You get diarrhea, you get nausea. But once when you cleanse, this all disappears. Diarrhea is not a disease, it's a symptom of cleansing. And symptom of toxic blood is usually pain. When your joints hurt, when your muscles hurt, your skin on touch, everything hurts. You are toxic. Your blood is toxic, not cells. When cells are toxic, you don't know nothing. It's encapsulated. But toxic cell become acidic and doesn't hold energy. So you feel general tiredness. And we have million diseases that we have invented because we have general tiredness. General tiredness with the pain, without the pain, with diarrhea, without diarrhea, with cough, without cough, with hair fallout, without. And because of one symptom, it's completely different disease, and now we have to invent different medication. It's all baloney, stupidity that is put here by people in charge that we trust. Stop trusting, don't trust me. Absorb this knowledge, and don't call it knowledge, call it information, and try to test it on yourself. Only when you experience it, you know. Whatever you hear, it's he says, she says. Until you do it, you try it on yourself. And then you know. And I know everything what I'm telling you because I've experienced everything. I changed my diets. I was vegan for 6 months, no, vegetarian for 6 months, vegan for about 3 weeks. Immediately I know this is a crap. And then my last was to try pure carnivore diet. And the information, the truth lays in quantum physics, in energy and vibration. And if you want to know what to do, leave everything to God, to the quantum field of conscious energy. Everything that vibrates by nature is vibrating with vibration of creation. If you eat it the way it's vibrating, it will not change vibration in your body because it brings the same field in close to your genetic system. If you start changing the vibration, now this will influence change of your vibration, which then your brain shows you as a disease. Simple. Nothing could be more simple. Eat correctly, hydrate, basically follow the self-healers protocol because this is what self-healers protocol is. And no wonder everybody heals. And I mean everybody who does it. Only more toxic you are, especially more fragile you become because of long time exposure to toxicity, then it takes longer for the body to detoxify and to repair itself. So the process could be painful because of all the symptoms of detox, could be lengthy, but it only leads one way, and this is healing and rejuvenation. And you heal body and your mind, because mind doesn't work well when body is toxic, when blood is toxic, and only works on proper fuel. And the only fuel that we have reserved for is fat. Get rid of the forbidden food. Get rid of processed carbohydrate. Okay? Don't be afraid of high blood pressure. Never killed anybody. And if it does, then you could have died at the same time with this high blood pressure or with artificially lowered blood pressure because your system is very fragile. And most likely the cause was not the blood pressure, even though it was high, but you made a wrong move that snapped a little bit the blood vessel. Would happen one way or the other. Now, here happened with aneurysm. French lady, Nobody knew. Young girl had aneurysm in her brain. Went through ayahuasca, great experience. She loved it. 5 days later, they found her dead in a bed. Now family, everybody attacked the ayahuasquero, ayahuasca, ayahuasca. And then they discovered that actually she had a problem with artery in her brain. And that the same problem has her sister, because then they scanned her. It could have happened anytime, for any reason. Now if she would be drinking water with sea salt, and she would die, oh, it's a salt, because we always blame something of convenience. We don't blame the true cause. Something what is convenient. We always find excuses. And this is where doctors are great. And they have licenses to protect them. Everybody that was treated by doctor and died from a disease has died from doctor's hand. Everybody. Because if that doctor would know anything about healing, it would have healed that person and that individual. And no medication is necessary for healing. Sometimes it's handy when it's advanced case, and it's advanced just because of malpractice of the doctor. But doctor is protected, kills daily people, but he has his license. Look, I did exactly what says his license. No salt, no fat, diuretics, blood thinners, statins, everything is here. Well, everything of this is toxic for the body and causes deterioration and death. But they have license to poison people, and license is right there behind them on the wall. Well, thank you for listening to this rant. I hope it's starting getting there in the brain. Don't be afraid of high blood pressure. You want to heal? Take your risk. Hydrate and let your body to do it, to cleanse you and to heal. Thank you for being here. Love you.